Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the 17th annual Earl Davie Symposium. I think this is my 15th time on the podium for this event. It's really an honor to be here. And thank you all for coming. Before we start, just a couple of administrative issues or points. So one, washrooms you probably have found are that way at the back. Phones, please turn them to silent or to buzz so we don't have ringing in the middle. This symposium is being zoomed in from various sites. So when you do ask questions or make comments, please make sure you wait for the mic to arrive and ideally identify yourself and if possible stand up, but it's not necessary. There will be lots of breaks. You can see there's lots of food. The food is great, thanks to Mira and to Caitlin. Then before we get underway, there are some acknowledgements that we make that we're holding this symposium on traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of First Nations. We consider ourselves fortunate to have the opportunity to enjoy these wonderful lands. We also, particularly in the world today, we believe that equity, diversity, and inclusion are essential components of all individuals and communities, and we encourage everyone to reflect, to learn, to communicate, and to take action to end all forms of human injustice. So first, thanks are in order for all our sponsors. This event would not be possible without the contributions of our sponsors, in particular to start with the Neiman Vickers Endowment Fund. They left the Center for Blood Research oodles of funds to support many of the trainees who have traveled from different places to this event to support this, all the food and the venue here, but including Bayer, Novo Nordisk, Grifols, CSL Behring, the Canadian Blood Services, Alexion, Recordati, Rare Diseases, Pfizer, and Stego. And thanks to all of you. And then I want to particularly thank Mira and Caitlin. Many of you have been in touch with them on a regular basis for various purposes. They are the centerpiece of this event, quite frankly, because it wouldn't have happened without their help. And then Ed Prysdale and Agnes Lee, invaluable contributions in terms of our speakers, who's internationally renowned and a source of great help. So I appreciate that. Please participate, engaging us on social media as you wish. Those are the whatever you call them, the tags for advertising and disseminating this event. By way of introduction, so Earl Davie, this symposium, as I said, has been going on for 17 years. It was initiated, I'm going to just look back, okay, by Ross McGilvery, who had, where's Ross? It's too early for Ross. Ross did his postdoc with Earl many years ago, and Alain Coté was in that lab as well. And Ross initiated this symposium 17 years ago by inviting Earl up from University of Washington, and that's when it started, and it's blossomed ever since. Earl grew up in not far from Seattle in Washington State, and this is where he went to high school in that little village there in Eatonville near Mount Rainier, which is shown in that beautiful picture there. He was always scientific. He told me he actually wanted to be a pilot. I had this funny picture of him as a pilot, but I'll show you another time. But in the end, he got his undergraduate degree at University of Washington in biochemistry, and then landed in the lab of Hans Neurath at the University of Washington. And Hans encouraged him to look at the transformation of trypsinogen to trypsin, or trypsin's proteolytic activities. And that was really the basis then for proteolytic pathways that have played a major role in coagulation as well as in other systems. After a postdoc, He went to Case Western University, and that was the famous collaboration with Oscar Ratanoff, which led then to the coagulation cascade, which was published almost 60 years ago, 59 years ago, in September. So it's stood the tests of time in terms of its relevance, and much of it really hasn't changed in many ways. During that time, he had a very active lab. You can see here, these are some of the parties that apparently he was very famous for that. It was an incredible, you hear the stories, and we've had speakers from his lab, including, say, Evan Sadler and others over the years who worked with Earl, that it was such a happy place and productive at the same time. So it can be done. Just remind your PIs, you students, that it doesn't have to be hard. It certainly is hard work, but it can be fun. Here's Ross. In his early days, those bags probably are full of beer, no doubt, for those who know Ross. And indeed, it was productive. You can see here what proteins were purified out of Earl's group. All of those, and then some. They were all purified, the proteins were purified, characterized, and most of them were cloned in that lab. Now, not to rest, Earl collaborated with Michael Smith, and Michael Smith was a Nobel laureate out of UBC, collaborated with him to establish Zymogenics, a company, and that led to the recombinant forms of insulin and factor VII, and those then became the foundation for Novo Nordisk's success. So he certainly has had an impact beyond coagulation in diabetes, which has impacted clearly all of us and the rest of the world. So we have a fantastic program, as we always do, because when we mention Earl's name, everybody sort of comes. So I never ever have a problem getting people to come to this symposium, because it really does represent and credit Earl for all he contributed. We really do miss him. He died 3 years ago. He used to come here every year. And brought his friend Eddie Fisher, and Eddie Fisher was a Nobel laureate, who was older than Earl when they both died at the age of about 100, but they were still totally active when they came here. Both would write voluminous notes as if they're going to set up a new lab next week. It was just really remarkable.